importantly, let's bring in Sound Planning Group CEO David Stryzewski. And David, if you are interested in Exxon and you own some of Exxon, then you woke up a happy guy today.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, developing resources takes a long period of time. I mean, we're talking like decades in many of these cases. So when you can acquire another competitor who can add value to what you're already doing, that's a really important thing to understand about this deal and why that's important. Also to understand here today that, you know, President Biden in 2022 and 23, the price of oil was going up. And so what did he do? He drained the Strategic Petroleum Reserve by over 40%. You know, here's one of the things that we have to understand about this. Number one, if you actually study that, they're held in salt caverns. These salt caverns have actually been collapsing and the integrity of them have been challenged as a result of you got to flush all this salt water in. And of course, you know, salt in the water, it breaks things up. So our SPR is like actually kind of crumbling. We need to get fuel back in there really quickly. So players like Exxon that are already positioned very well, U.S. companies here that are going to be able to supply and to fill this up, I believe are positioned very well for the future and what we ultimately have to do as a nation for so many different reasons out there. But, you know, the world runs on diesel. And if we can't figure that out and figure out how to get, you know, fuel down in price, then we're going to see inflation go much, much, much higher. So I believe that there's going to be investment into this. It's going to become favorable again, even though there's such an anti-climatic way of looking at, you know, oil producers right now.
Do you think that commodities are going to outperform technology? Because there's been a lot of, you know, back and forth depending on the day of who's the winning sector.
Yeah. So as far as the technology goes, you know, technology is usually looking really far out into the future. And so as we look far out into the future, well, that's not kind of where we are right now. We need things here on the short term. So I really am bullish on copper. I think uranium's a really important idea. You know, these green ideas are wonderful, but we've got to be able to resource them. The challenge is we've you know, hindered exploration with a lot of that stuff, but yet we've brought the demand up. So, you know, you just talked about Elon Musk, you know, all these EVs, I think that they take 85 pounds of copper per EV on average. And so, you know, we've got to be finding these resources someplace. And, you know, with demand up, but the supply not being able to rise equivalently, that's an opportunity for investors to be able to get in on something right now. And I believe that there's some amazing organizations here, again, U.S.-based, wonderful. There are places that we can go abroad, but there are some players here today that are positioned well. And I think what led us into the bull market is probably not going to be what leads here in the next decade as we have higher inflation. We've got more volatility that's going to be taking place.
Yeah. Well, tech is so sensitive to that, David. We're out of time. David Stryzewski, thank you so much. So let's take a look at this, guys.